Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we delve into the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcast on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Reads Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to explore more about our mission, discover resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veteran stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Today is Monday, September 30th, 2024, and we're speaking with John Roberts, who served in the United States Army.
My name is Austin Crouch. I'm with Veterans Archives. I'm here today with John Roberts. And, sir, will you tell me what service you went for today?
I was in the Army.
Army. So how long were you in the military for?
2 years.
2 years. And when and where were you born?
I was born in Franklin, Indiana in 1950.
1950. So Franklin, Indiana, that's south of Indianapolis?
Yes.
Right? Just a little bit north of here.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like growing up? What was it like for John growing up?
I grew up 6 miles from where I'm currently living, and we played in the creeks and the woods and the roads, and nobody had a care in the world. We just, we grew what we needed to eat and cut wood for the winter, and we just literally, I thought it was a great life,
So it sounds like a very rural farm.
Very
homestead.
rural area, yeah.
Yeah. That's a very cool childhood. So growing up rural, and did you have any sisters or brothers, or how big was your family growing up?
There was 6 of us. Had one brother and 4 sisters.
Nice, outnumbered.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up with so many siblings out there like that? Did you all participate in
everything?
Yeah, that's cool. It's interesting. You don't see very many families quite like that anymore these days.
But we literally, if we went out to mow the yard, we was all out there, and if we was working in the garden or chopping wood, we was all part of it.
Yeah. So when you think of your family, how do you best describe them?
Sheesh, a mess.
Why do you say that for?
Well, there's been issues of late, but they're family.
Yeah, so you can't get rid of them, can you?
Can't get rid of them.
So growing up in Franklin, where did you go to school? Starting out, what was?
Helensburg. I grew up over just north of Helensburg. I was born in Franklin.
Oh,
but we lived over just north of Helensburg.
Oh, that's even more rural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like growing up?
That was great.
Really?
It literally was. We had a creek in the backyard, and then a field, and even when I was a teenager, the neighbor built a big lake behind us, and we traveled the trails through the woods, and we fished and hunted, and we just had I thought it was a pretty good childhood.
Sounds like a dream, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up in a small school? I'm assuming you knew everybody there.
Everybody. Yeah.
That's cool. All the way through high school.
Yeah. Literally, we all grew up close together.
That's cool. Do you still talk to any of your friends and stuff going on?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them I'm still in contact with. Not often, but often enough, yeah.
Yeah. I hear Brown County people stick together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So getting into, you graduate, what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 70.
70.
I took too many vacations in the 8th grade.
Uh-huh.
I literally took every Friday off, went to work with my grandpa driving nails. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Thursdays I didn't go all year long. Nobody complained. Mm-hmm. And my grade was acceptable, but my attendance wasn't, and I had to take the 8th grade over.
At least you're working though, right?
Yeah. My birthday was late in October, so I was I was a little older starting than a lot of them anyway. Because of it, I had to wait till the following year to start, and then taking that year over, why it put me behind some. But I graduated in '70 and
Nice.
went ahead and done just what I always knew I would do. I drove nails for a living.
Well, it sounded like it didn't hold you back any.
No.
So graduated high school in the '70s. So at what point did you go to the military?
Let's see. I graduated in May and went to the end of May and went to the service late September
Of 1970.
It's 1970.
So just quick transition.
Yep.
So what happened? So when you go to basic, where and when did you go? What?
I went to basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and when I finished, how many weeks of basic training it was, I can't even tell you anymore. But I finished the basic training, came home for a week, I think, or something like that. And they sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for advanced training and put me in artillery.
What was basic training like for you guys?
It was pretty nice. I mean, I got 3 square meals a day and eat at regular times. I never eat at regular times at home. I gained weight in basic training.
Right, that works out.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone had that same experience.
No, I don't
right?
think so. But, it was, it was strenuous at times, but the work, workouts and stuff. But I managed to get through it without any too many issues at all.
Yeah, lean and green, right?
Yeah, and then sent me to Fort Sill for artillery, and I didn't know nothing about artillery. Give me a rifle, I could hit something with it,
Right.
But they trained me on artillery, and then they decided to send me to searchlight school. And I was still stationed at Fort Sill. And when I got out of there, I came home for a couple of weeks, and then I went to Vietnam and served the rest of my time in Nam. And made me a buck sergeant and had me in charge of, at one time, 7 men and 3 Jeeps over there running around with lights in the back of them.
That's quite the experience, right?
Yeah.
So let's unpack that. So first you go to basic, right? Come back a week, and then you ship back out to Fort Sill. Right? And I've heard Oklahoma and Fort Sill is terrible.
It's awful in the wintertime. The wind never stops and the sand's always blowing. It's terrible in the winter.
What pieces of artillery did you use over there?
In Nam, I didn't. Well, I'll take that back. I did one time fire a 106 recoilless rifle. But I was trained on the 155 and 175 howitzers in Fort Sill.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So tell me again. So you train there, and they ship you off to Searchlight. How does that? That seems like 2 very different things. Like, how does that happen?
Very different things, but that's what they done. They chose this one, and this one, and you're going to here, and that's the way we went, And so the rest of the guys that I trained with in artillery, they wound up wherever. I don't have any idea. And I wound off for more training, and then went to Nam. Went in the country at Long Bend. From there, within a week, I was in Da Nang, just outside of Da Nang.
So those are all big names. So you're in Da Nang, right? You're in Vietnam in country, and you're searchlighting. What are you searchlighting for? Like, what's that?
The
what
enemy.
Is that? The enemy.
Literally, we had a 23-inch xenon light in the back of a Jeep. And there was a shield you could put in front of it that it would produce an infrared light, and you had to have binoculars to see it. Or you could just have a white light coming out here with a range of about 4.5 miles, And and one point I sat one entire night with that light reflecting off of a cloud out into the jungle. And when they started at dark, there was a jungle there, and the next morning at daylight, there was a full compound set up with a landing zone.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to understand a little bit more of what that process is. So where are you at? Like, how was that? Like, are you on a bigger compound yourself, and you go out with units?
No, I was out on the top of a mountainside. Well, a big hillside for Nam, but in a mountainside they'd call it at Nam, and I was just out there pretty much by myself all night with the Jeep running.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's an experience. I'm sure.
Well, when I turned that Jeep in, it had a few bullet holes in it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So let's go. And so like I said, so you shipped in to Vietnam, right? So let's go to the first place you went first, and walk me through that experience. Walk me through what it was like to be John, right? And your first time in Vietnam.
It was wild. I walked in over there, and the first thing they wanted you to do was get a haircut and send us down to the barber, and we all got buzz haircuts all over again, and got our jungle fatigues, and we was ready for whatever was next, we thought, but, I'm sure we really weren't ready for what was next. But then they put me, and along with others, put us on a helicopter on Chinooks and flew us to Da Nang from Long Ben. And then I boarded a Jeep or truck, rather, and went out to just south of Da Nang, south and west, anyway, of Da Nang to Compound. And that's where I was stationed at. First month there, I had been there about a month, and they sent me to Marble Mountain to run a night observation scope. And I was to spot them, and there was a special forces sergeant up there who was supposed to stop them. And the South Vietnamese pulled guard duty for us. And this rock was 600 feet up in the air. And it was hand over hand. Most of the way you could walk, but they was 90 feet that was straight up marble and slick as could be. The only way to get up there was hand over hand. And we carried everything that we wanted up there and went in. And then they would resupply us once a week or whatever because there was one end of the mountain that they could set a helicopter down and resupply us.
So you're not even in the Jeep.
No, not even at that point. I'm not in the Jeep. The Jeep's sitting back at headquarters, and they hit us one night up there 3 times. We took fire. There was a hillside south of us, just south of us, shorter than us, and they hit us one night 3 times. We took fire from that hillside, bad. I mean, we were sitting there on a Saturday night. The Special Forces compound was a mile away. And we literally went to the Special Forces compound, walked out over there that morning, showered, and raided their freezers and brought steaks back and picked up charcoal coming through the village and grilled those steaks up there on that hill. And just about dark, everything broke loose. And we was taking fire bad. And we grabbed our rifles, and the marble chips off them rocks was as bad as bullets flying. We grabbed our rifles and began shooting back. I had a Spec 4 that was up there with me, and when we grabbed our rifles out of the hooch, because we had little buildings up there we slept in, and we grabbed the rifles, and I turned, and I caught a muzzle flash out of the corner of my eye, and I pushed him to the ground and felt the heat off that vapor bulge off that bullet go by my ear. It would have hit him in the face. How I reacted so fast, I'll never know. But at any rate, I emptied a full clip back that away, and we didn't get fire from that area no more that night. The next morning, when recon went out, they couldn't find any trace of anybody being there. So, they was real good at hiding this. So whether I'd done any damage or not, I don't know. But I know it was close that night, and it was 3 times that they hit us, and we was running low on ammo. We melted the barrel down on a 50 caliber, and the Special Forces sergeant got a hold of headquarters. He got the duty officer. He said, "We've been hit 3 times tonight, running low on ammo. I want a gunship at the ready." And in just a little bit, you heard that chopper fire up, and it ran till daylight, and they resupplied us.
What was that experience like?
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all.
Yeah, I can imagine, right? Like that's very similar to you see a lot of like pop culture films today in this day and age about Afghanistan and such. You don't hear too many things about that. That's wicked, man.
We had a French fort that was northeast of us, about 600, maybe 600 meters, 700 meters maybe, but I don't think it was that far, 650, and. So he got some practice grenades for an M79 up there. He says, "We need to shoot down there by that fort, see how close we can get, because we might have to help defend them some night." I told him, I said, I can put one in the machine gun pit on the corner of the, and he said, no, he said, it won't shoot that far. The Special Forces sergeant told me this. I said, yeah, it will. He said, no, they don't have a range that far. I said, yeah, and we're 600 feet above him. I said, I can hit the machine gun pit on the corner. No, but see how close you can get down there. I put one in the machine gun pit. It hit, it popped yellow smoke, and they come out of there screaming and hollering and waving their fist. And he said, we better shoot some other direction.
So I got two things for you. You say you're working with SF. What was that experience like?
Working with the
Special Forces.
Oh, it was great. He was a good guy. I mean, I liked him, and we had a good time.
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you.
So you guys were working in contact with that compound that was about a mile away.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was good.
And another thing, so vastly different conflicts across the time. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but what's it like? You're saying 700 meters, 600 meters, like as the crow flies, you should be able to see that, right?
You can see it. Yeah, it's not an issue. It's wide open where we was at. You could see just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
And they were still able to get close to you like that.
Oh yeah, because right on the opposite side of that little hill that was just south of us where we took the fire from was a village that we couldn't see at all because of the hillside. Mm-hmm. And they would slip in and out of there at night, and so without our scope up there watching, and they would come in from the South China Sea carrying messages, and they'd get into the village, and we couldn't tell them apart. Mm-hmm. So then they would slip out during the day as people was out working and whatnot, and they'd get up into the foothills carrying these messages. I counted 35 in a party coming into the village one night. And I woke the Special Forces sergeant up and pointed them out to him. And it was my second night up there, his first, and he overestimated the range, set a beehive round, and we killed 3 in the rear party that I hadn't seen. But all those guys, all of them made it into the village. And once they was in the village, there was nothing we could do because we couldn't tell one from the other.
Right.
Once they got inside, they was just there.
Right.
And
So when you say you're spotting these guys, so for those who don't know like that much military jargon, can you explain to me like what exactly you're doing with your scope? And
I use a starlight scope that uses the light to magnifies the light from the stars. And it's just like looking out here of an early morning or late of an evening when it's just getting dusk, you can see exceptionally well. And because of that starlight scope. Okay. And so all I was supposed to do was spot him, and he was to stop him.
Okay. So you're literally watching enemy combatants moving in the hillsides.
Yep.
That's wild. And how far away were they again?
Well, he overestimated. He said he estimated at 1,400 meters, and they was under that.
Okay. So, and then just to be clear, for those that maybe who'd be new to the conflict, who was this group that you believe that you were fighting at the time?
North Vietnamese and China ultimately.
And that's the Viet Cong, correct?
The Viet Cong. Yeah.
Do you what's your feeling towards their fighting style this many years later?
It's just jungle fighting. I mean, it was, go back to the cowboys and Indians. They fought, however they could kill one another, they did. Right.
It's very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah. It's like guerrilla warfare has been the tactic for forever.
Years.
Though.
Yeah.
That's wild. So what happened next? What happened after that night? Walk us through. So the chopper comes, right? The gunship's on steady. Night's quiet. What happens next?
They resupplied us the next day, and life went back to usual, until a month later they shipped me back out. The general over our area in Vietnam changed, and the new one determined searchlights wasn't needed.
Okay.
And so he was standing the unit down and sending them home. But I hadn't been in country long enough. And someplace along the line, my battery had acquired an extra Jeep and light. It wasn't ours, but we had it, and it had our numbers on it. And so the the captain gave me the Jeep, the light, and 5 rifles and a radio and said, go to Charlie 1. They want you up there. And they need these rifles and the radio. He says, as long as you're in country, it's your Jeep. It don't belong to anybody else. And so I drove it to Charlie 1 and spent a night in Quandary, drove on up to Charlie 1 the next day. The next day, they wasn't going to let me go. There wasn't a convoy going north from Quandary up toward Charlie 1. And I said, there's 2 tanker trucks sitting here. They're headed that direction. Why can't I run with them? He says, because they make real good targets and they like shooting them. I said, yeah, I'll keep up with them. It'll be all right. I got between them 2 trucks, and I had my foot on the floor of that Jeep the whole way from Quandary to Charlie 1. They didn't slow down for nothing, and I didn't either because they'd have run over me if I had.
What was the experience like driving? Because like those Jeeps are different than they're built now.
Oh yeah,
right. And
yeah.
like you're driving like very rural roads, correct?
Yeah.
And
it was like a highway.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't as bad as you would think at all. You know, now they did mine it, but then the mine sweep had went through, and we was fortunate there wasn't anything. Cause as soon as that sweep went through, we took off. Mm-hmm. But it was an experience. Right. It was quite an experience.
So you're driving up to Charlie 1, right? What is that? Is that a unit or is that a station?
Charlie 1 was close enough to DMZ you could look across it and see the North Vietnamese flag flying.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was right up there. So
okay. So what happened after that? Where did you go next after that? So you traversed down with this convoy. Where did you go from there?
From there, I was there for, I don't remember, a month and a half, 2 months, and they sent me back to headquarters battery at Da Nang. And I was in headquarters battery for, I don't remember how long, but a good little bit. And one night we got under a yellow flag because they suspected problems. And it was my night off, and some of the guys who I'd been in searchlights with knew how to operate my light and stuff. So the company commander came to me and borrowed my Jeep for the night for somebody else to run it. And supposedly he lost an oil plug and lost oil pressure and blew it up. I don't buy it because those Jeeps had a safety on them. If the pressure got below 30 pounds, it'd shut off. So I think somebody else wound up with my Jeep, but regardless, I lost my Jeep there. But shortly thereafter, I was on a chopper going to Cameron Bay anyhow, and I couldn't have taken it down there.
Right. So where's Cameron Bay? What's the importance with that?
It's south of Da Nang, halfway to Saigon, probably. I can't tell you. I do have a map I could show you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go down there, what are you just at another unit? Or?
Another unit was stuck there, and we had they brought oil tankers in and out there. We had fuel depots and tanks set up, and we would patrol the beach and different areas. And we did play rat patrol one night on the beach. Well, some of the guys did. One of them managed to roll his Jeep and break the windshield and the antenna, and. But coming back into town the next morning, just before daybreak, why there sat a colonel's Jeep at a house and nobody around. And so when he came out, he had the broken windshield and an antenna.
What is a rat patrol?
Well, it's an old television show where they would run Jeeps and jumping over sand dunes and stuff on the beach and wherever. And so we played rat patrol on the beach, you know. And
What were the beaches like there? Like you're stationed up there, like you're working out there. What was that experience?
There were some of them that was pretty nice, but most of them weren't.
Really?
Yeah.
It's almost like a slap in the face, isn't it?
Yeah, really. They and some of the places I saw going to Charlie 1, the snow was just, the sand was just as white as this driven snow. And other places it was just all burnt out and desolate, you know. Really? It was quite an experience.
When you say burnout, do you mean like
bombed and burnt?
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds like a very heavily contested area. Everywhere you go is just contested, isn't it?
Yep, literally.
So do you think that you're truly safe anywhere there? Like, did you ever feel like you were secure in like your compounds and stuff like that?
It never seemed to bother me, but I don't know that I ever was really confident that I was fully secure anywhere, but I was never bothered by it. You know,
It's part of the job, right?
just part of it. You know, you rely on your buddy, and he relies on you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the bay, right? What's next for John at that point?
We just pulled patrol duty every night until they finally decided to move us from the compound we was on over to the air base, because some of the airmen had come home, and they moved us onto that compound. And then next step was we turned all of our equipment over to the South Vietnamese forces, and then they sent us to Saigon and sent us home a couple weeks later.
Well, so I feel like there's some importance there. I feel like some things happened in those weeks. What was it like working with the South Vietnamese?
I never worked with them. Fact is, I sent the Jeeps out that I was responsible for that night, sent all 3 of them out to be turned over, and my guys come back, no problem. You know, they got picked up and returned, and so they turned them over to the South Vietnamese. My captain, lieutenant, came to me and said one of my friends, another sergeant, he'd taken one Jeep out himself to turn over, and they didn't show up to pick it up. He said, need somebody to go spend the night with him. You need to send one of your guys down there. I said, my guys is all partying. They're over with. You know, they're drinking and having a good time. I said, I'll go. But I said, I'm not sending someone. And so I went down, and they launched a rocket from across the bay, inlet anyway, and it landed, and it didn't cause any major damage, and it wasn't close to us, but we saw the direction it came from, and reported that. But and that was it. The next day, we was all done and partying and the heck with it. You know, we was as far as we was concerned, the war was over. We was coming home soon, and within a week and a half, 2 weeks, we was on our way home.
Okay. So when you say to back it up a little bit, and you say you're in command of others, I think you mentioned earlier that you became a buck sergeant.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened there? When did that happen, and how was that process?
That happened before I left Oklahoma. They made me buck sergeant.
So you were in the game, sergeant, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what was that experience like? Right. Like that's brand new. Right.
That was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. Yeah.
So you had to grow and learn a lot of different.
I had
ways.
to learn everything, just like everybody else. They had I had a guy in my unit when I was at Cameron Bay, actually. He had been trained on chemical warfare, and they put him in searchlights when he got to Nam. Mm-hmm. He knew nothing about searchlights. I had to train him on everything, you know, and so I did, and I set him out to sign for midnight mass on the chapel, and he was up on the hillside, and he was shining his light for chapel for midnight mass, and I insisted that I was going to go see this, and I was off that night, and we was partying pretty hard, and so some of the guys came in to eat evening meal. Well, evening meal for us was midnight, you know, because we was out working, but some of them came in, and they loaded me on a Jeep and took me over to see this. And they had to hold me in the Jeep seat. One sat behind me beside the light, holding me in. And got over there, and they propped me up against the back of the Jeep. And I watched him a little bit and said, he's doing a damn good job. And down I went. And they picked me up and put me back in the Jeep. We made it back to the hooch, back to the compound. And they couldn't find me. I was in the floorboard of that Jeep. How, I don't know. They took me in, laid me on my rack, and the next morning I woke up, felt fine. Then everybody else woke up that was drinking with hangovers and stuff, and I felt fine.
So shine a light on midnight mass. What is that?
Well, they were having midnight mass at the church because it was Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And so that was his job, was to shine on the chapel midnight mass at Christmas. And so, and I wanted to see him do it. I was bound determined to see him do it. I did, but I don't remember seeing him do it.
That's wild. That's crazy to think about. Yes, holidays overseas, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole other. That's a whole
We've been
animal.
saving for months all of our rations and stuff to buy stuff to so we could have a party, and we did.
What kind of rations were you using?
Well, we used our liquor license. You know, you could only get so much at a time, and so we saved our rations up, and then we went and bought what we wanted at the PX, and so. But I was mixing glass of stuff, and I had a big tumbler, and I think they said 7 different kinds of stuff in it, and I don't remember what all was in there. And I thought it was pretty good. But, you know, everybody else, one whiff, and they wouldn't taste it. That was enough for them, but the first sip, and you didn't taste anything after that, so.
It's like a grog.
They said that I mixed up 3 of them. I drank 1.5 and spilt the other half. Mixed up another one and got part of it down. And there's pictures. I have pictures someplace of them holding me up outside, leaning against the side of the building, trying to take a leak. And they had to hold me up. It was bad.
It's crazy to think about the experience of that while you're still in country.
Yeah.
And you never really know what's going on.
No.
So we're Buck Sergeant. Being a stand-up guy, we're taking guard shift right on Christmas. Yep. That's awesome. So what happens next? So let's get back on track to where we were. We're leaving to Saigon from here.
Yeah, from Cameron Bay, I went to Saigon.
And this is a rather big city, right? Everyone hears of the fall of Saigon, right?
Yeah.
How far out is this from that?
Well, this was a couple years before the fall.
Okay.
Because I came home in 72, and I don't think it fell till 75 or something.
Okay, cool. So we're a couple years before then. So
yeah.
we're leaving from Saigon, and where do we go from there?
We go, when I went over, American Airlines flew us over there. Mm-hmm. And we had the stewardess and all from American Airlines flew us. We went from California to Alaska, Tokyo, and then Nam. Coming back, we hit Tokyo and then Hawaii and then back to California. But we never got off the plane at any of those places. They was just stopped long enough for us to fuel, and we could look out here and see the vehicles and people, and that was it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. The only time I was in Hawaii or Tokyo, I didn't get to do nothing other than sit on an airplane.
That's the worst. It's like Germany.
Yeah.
The stopovers everywhere.
But what really hit home was when we landed at the Air Force Base outside Oakland, Travis, and we was being bused over to Oakland, and here's all these Fords and Chevrolets and Dodges running down the interstate. And then you realized you were finally home. But no one knew we were home because we didn't tell anyone we were coming. We just came home. So we came home a couple months early. And so surprised everyone.
So that was like a group decision?
Yeah, well, it was mine and mine and a friend of mine who we went through basic and everything else together. We served all the way through together. He was from Terre Haute.
Wow, that's close.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Jim Drake.
Jim Drake. So you and Jim, all the way through basic. So
basic, Fort Sill, artillery, AIT training, and searchlights, and then NOM, and we was stationed all within pretty much the same companies all the way through in NOM.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like not an experience a lot of people get.
No, it's a lot of people don't get that at all, but it was great.
So what happened when you and Jim, right? We come home.
Yeah.
What happens? Like how's the experience?
We got to Chicago, had a long layover. Well, when we left, when they discharged us, everybody was jumping in cabs and going to the airport. They was getting home, and me and Jim decided we was going to ride the city bus and take it to the airport and see part of the city that we'll never see again. And it's true, we'll never see it again. But time we got to the airport, there was a bomb threat at the Oakland airport. So then we had to take a cab across to San Diego. And we took a cab over, and then we had a long wait to get a flight out of there, midnight I think it was, before we got to Chicago. And then we had an hour and a half layover in Chicago before we could get to Indianapolis. Well, Jim had called his brother to come and pick him up in Indianapolis. I had $800 in my pocket in cash. I was just going to rent a car and drive home, surprise everyone. But I did call my sister and told her that I just made it to California. I was coming home, but I didn't know when. So we get to Indianapolis, and I can't rent a car. I don't have a credit card, and I'm not 25 years old. So I can't rent a car. I got enough money in my pocket to walk out on the street and buy a car, but I can't rent one to drive home. So Jim said, don't worry about it. We'll take you home. So him and his brother drove me home, and then they went to Terre Haute. And, of course, we got home, and I walked in and found the car keys, and I went over and to my girlfriend's at the time, and turned out to be my wife for 49 years, almost 50 years. But I started up the road, was going to go get gas in the car and go to her place, and my grandma, who lived next door, was out in the yard, and she seen me, and she thought it was my brother. Wanted to know if it heard any more information about me. And so she got a big surprise. And then I went over to wife's folks, and so he come out of the garage and shook my hand and walked in the house with me, and so everybody was surprised, and we got back to the house, and I called my sister. I said, where's everybody at? She said, they're all right here. Her husband had went by where Dad was working and told him that, so he came in, and the kids had all stayed home from school and took Mom down there because I didn't have Mom and Dad's phone number. I had my sister's phone number. And so I said, well, tell them to get in the car and head for home. I said, if they drive 35 mile an hour home, I'm going to beat them because I'm sitting in the living room. And in a little while, here they all came. They poured in there, and it was pretty nice. It was special.
I'm really happy for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's such a cool experience.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a warm experience.
It was.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the whole family comes back. Everything's great. What was life? Well, tell me what the life was like, right? Coming back from Vietnam, adjusting back to the normal civilian life, the rat race, right? How does that work?
It's in ways it was difficult, because the memories and stuff that you went through, and in other ways it was just just like any other day. You just got up and put your shoes on and went about it, and it was fine. Mm-hmm. So, what
did you first do when you got
out? I loafed for 2 weeks, got married, and then went to work. Yeah. Driving nails.
Driving nails. When you say driving nails,
I was a carpenter.
Carpenter.
I've carpentered all my life.
Yeah. What was your place of business?
I worked for Waltman Construction out of Nashville for many years. And then when they all retired, I worked for myself.
Nashville, Indiana, correct?
Yeah, Nashville, Indiana.
Waltman Construction.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's a local
It's
company?
Local. When Lee decided to retire and turn it over to his son run it for a while, and then he finally decided he wasn't having fun, so he closed the business down. Now, since then, Lee's nephew has taken and started it back up, but it's an LLC instead of a Waltman Construction Incorporated, and now it's a Waltman Construction LLC, but they're still going on, but
That's
I'm
cool.
not working there.
So I know like Nashville's like pretty historic, right? Did
Yeah.
you work on any places like that around there?
Most of the places in Nashville.
That's cool.
Yeah. I had keys for most of the places in Nashville.
That's awesome. That's really cool, right? Like I said, I just think it's a very neat part of the town.
It is,
cool. And it's something that you can have pride in.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
it's always cool to see what your hands have touched. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So we're construction. I believe that you have all kinds of kids. How did that happen? Right?
We had 3 daughters, and of the 3 daughters, we have 13 grandkids. Mm-hmm. 2 of which are married, and we now have 2 great grandkids. So
we got a whole clan going on.
Got a whole passel of them.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, so what was it like? What was it like having a family? What was that experience?
It was
like?
great. I loved it. There's things I wish I'd have done more with the family instead of going off and doing this or whatever. But it was great. I loved it. Yeah.
That's a wholesome experience, right?
Yeah.
Do you think? Do you ever find yourself living your childhood and doing things with your family?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's pretty interesting how that works out, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
So, and then where are you at now? So where'd the timeline go from, have kids, have a whole clan of grandkids, right? What does John do nowadays?
John is retired,
John is retired.
drawing disability from the VA for Agent Orange related diseases.
Okay.
And so I'm retired and trying to keep up with grandkids and do a million different things. I don't know how I ever had time to work.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everyone needs time, right?
Yeah. So,
There's only so much you can give.
yep.
So what is the experience like, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there suffering. I think we just had a conversation about Agent Orange and how it affects a large portion of the veteran community. Where do you find yourself with that? Like, what is that experience like?
I had a heart attack and I suffered for 3 days. Didn't know whether I was having a heart attack or just terrible indigestion. 2:00 in the morning, I woke my wife up and said, we need to go to the hospital and figure out what's going on because this has got to stop. And we got in the truck and started for VA hospital in Indianapolis. And we made it almost to Morgantown, and I pulled over and stopped. I said, if I am having a heart attack, you should be driving this, not me. We walked in up the VA hospital, and so, yeah, you're having a heart attack. And they put 2 stents in and the next morning. And so then they determined later that I had diabetes, and they thought both of them could be caused from Agent Orange. So I fought with them for years because the percentage rate that they had given me at the time was a lot lower, and they finally determined that it should have been a lot higher, and they sent me a big check, and I went and bought a truck.
Right.
Big enough to pull my camper. Because the old truck that I was driving when we bought that camper had 240-some thousand miles on it and was real old. So,
where do you think you came in contact with that?
Agent Orange, I was around a lot of places in outside of Da Nang and Cameron Bay where they was spraying and fogging stuff at night,
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether that was Agent Orange there, but I was out in the jungle multiple times, and so I could have come into contact with it any number of places.
That's insane.
Yep.
That's crazy. I'm sad. Well, hey, if it's anything, man, you seem like you're doing super great.
Yeah,
So,
I think I've done excellent compared to a lot of them.
yeah, 100%, right?
Yeah.
What are some hobbies that John likes to do in his retirement?
He likes to fish, and so far this year, I don't think I've wet a line. I got a pond in the backyard.
That's how it works. Life gets busy.
Yeah.
So you pull your big camper, and where did you take that when you were?
We would go to Starve Hollow mostly. That's where we went. I have been up to Bluffton, up to Wabash State Park, but I haven't been anywhere else with it. And but I'm fixing to take it to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because I sold it to a cousin in Nebraska.
Right. Do you think finding that time in nature helped you like relax at all? Or
I think so. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I get out there and I can just relax and take it easy, and it's fine. So
yeah, I think it has a way.
It just kind of calms and settles your nerves.
100%. I think it's wild. Like we seem to always differentiate outside and inside, but we're the only people who do that.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So,
yeah.
Well, so in this long span of life and everything that you've experienced, I'm sure you've gained a lot of wisdom, right?
Yeah.
What's a message that you want others to hear? The big thing here is I believe that everyone can learn from each other's lives. Everyone can learn something from everybody.
Yeah.
Right. If you just tell someone anything for their life to be great, what would it be?
I think they should take time for one another, listen to one another, and try to help and lift others up. And remember, God's got a big plan for you, so keep that in mind.
Always keep the faith, right?
Always keep the faith.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that, like I said, I mentioned the rat race earlier, right? It's just like it's so hard. It seems like you have to really try hard to cut family time in.
Yep, it is. You really have to make time for family, but you need to make time for family.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we're all missing, I feel like, these days.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Well, John, it's a pleasure, right, as always. And I want to thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you for yours. You served too, and you didn't have to, but I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We're all brothers here.
Yeah.
So, all right, sir. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we explore the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcasts on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wreaths Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to discover more about our mission, access resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veterans' stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Remember, your story matters. Visit us online today at www.veteransarchives.org and connect with us on social media and stay informed and engaged. And as always, thank you for your support.